Hello and welcome to the OverShadow ShadowCast with your host Thomas Anderson. My turn, mercifully this week. So, what we're going to talk about to begin with is some games that I've been playing. Let me just line up my mic properly. There we go. So obviously, we've been setting up GTA. We've had a wee bit of trouble, and it's like GTA Online. It's sort of like there's 4 people trying to play. So you're guaranteed to have one person have some huge problem, and then once you've fixed that, one of the other people suddenly has a problem. But we've narrowed it down to one problem left, so hopefully we'll be able to get round to that sometime very soon. What I have been playing has been Gears of War with a person who will go by the name of Bandit, because that's their gamer tag and that's how they want to be referred to, so that's fine. Bandit and I have been playing Gears of War Judgment Aftermath, which is a little addition that was made to basically Baird and Cole's story from Gears of War 3, what they do when Dom and Marcus go off by themselves or with the two ladies. Baird and Cole go away by themselves with Carmine, and this is basically what happens. And it links back to the main story of Judgment, because it involves some of those characters. It's really, really well made. I think since 2010, the only Gears of War games that we have played together have been 3 and Judgment. And 3 I thought was really poor. The story is very good, the gameplay mechanics are really good, but I just felt that the actual combat scenarios felt off. I think for me it needed more. 3 was just, there wasn't enough of it, and I don't mean they needed to elongate the game, I just mean that I really felt that they needed more story, they needed more weapons, more gameplay mechanics, that they needed more. It was missing and it felt a bit off, and there were parts where even just more enemies would have made it more interesting at certain points, but I don't like it, if I'm being honest. 3, it's not for me, although I did like the story, because I'm a great fan of the person who wrote the story, Karen Travis I think it is. But I just thought it wasn't right, and I thought Judgment was actually better. It's like loads of little missions rather than, so almost each fight becomes its own little mission with these extra little challenges that you can do, and I really liked that. Really added this extra element to it, but after a while it got kind of a little bit annoying. From like, oh, this mission's tiny. If you really enjoy something, then it's over quickly, which is not a good thing. And it was a really good game. I thought it was much better than 3, and the problem was that because all the missions were very short, it felt like I actually enjoyed this one, so why not make this one longer? It was just a wee bit annoying that everything was finished so quickly. Aftermath, on the other hand, is much more like 1 and 2. It seems to take the game right back to where it started when it comes to mechanics, weapons, all that sort of jazz, and did much, much, much better. And we really, really enjoyed it. So if you've never played Judgment, I would recommend it. It is backwards compatible, and it is in the Game Pass. And I would recommend playing Aftermath once I wouldn't play Aftermath until you've played Judgment's campaign, because you'll get spoilers for it. But I'd definitely play them, because I had fun doing it. And Aftermath really took me by surprise just how good it was, because it is just like a wee addition to Judgment, which is completely free. So that was a really pleasant surprise. After having completed all of Judgment, we moved on to Gears of War 4. So it's the first time we've played a next gen, as it were, Gears game. And we tried to play it on Insanity, and we've since learned that was an insane thing to do, because so we played it on Insanity, and it was a nightmare. It took us like 2 hours to do the prologue. You know, because in Insanity difficulty, they take away things like down but not out. Now, we played Aftermath on Insanity, and I think that's the same. There's no down but not out. But Gears of War 4 is, you will drop dead for almost no reason that you can detect. And because there's no down but not out, you can't get raised. It restarts the checkpoint. And we're playing on co-op. So it's really tedious, basically. You will die. How should I put this? We dropped it down to hardcore to try and have fun. And it was much easier. In fact, for a wee while it was a walk in the park, but then we've gotten to a point now where you can actually die. You do have to be playing at your best to make it through without dying. And that's the difficulty that it should be. I can understand making it a bit harder for Insanity, but keeping the down but not out, maybe that might work. But clearly what's happened is that the difficulty scaling is way off. The jump from hardcore to Insanity it doesn't make sense. And we did look this up, and we heard some chatter that they didn't actually properly playtest the difficulty for 4. And that's why there's such a big jump, which doesn't really mesh properly. And I think the best explanation that I heard, I think it was me that said this, for for the difficulty settings in Gears of War 4 is that if you pop your head out of cover to shoot something, and in hardcore you'll probably be okay, and if you just walk out into the middle of the battlefield, you'll die, but you'll die because you were mucking about. If you pop your head up out of cover in Insanity, you will die, but you'll die because you tried to play the game. And that's just stupid. That is really stupid. I think they either needed to increase the difficulty as they did, but keep down but not out, or take down but not out away and keep it as difficult as hardcore. Because they've made a mistake. They've also got Iron Man mode. I am perfectly willing to bet nobody has completed Iron Man mode on Insanity because it just doesn't seem to work. Iron Man, if you die, you go all the way back to the start of the campaign. We would never have got out the prologue. I don't mind a really challenging game, but I want a challenge because they've made it challenging, not because they've made a mistake. And not because they've just made up some random rules that mean you die. It has to be an actual proper challenge. Otherwise, I don't really care for how difficult you've made it. You've just made a mistake. But Gears of War 4 at the minute is looking really... Like, when we dropped it to hardcore, it looks like a game that we're starting to get into the story now because it's not as tedious as it was, and we're flowing through it a bit better. It does kind of seem like the kind of game where we're playing 4 to get to 5. It doesn't... It's had some really cool moments and it's got some really cool weapons, but I think one of the big things that really annoyed us was that the first act of the game you get basically no ammo. So it gives you loads of guns, which are kind of cool, but you can't use them. You've got to constantly be picking up the weapons off the enemies, but those weapons are rubbish. They're absolutely rubbish compared to later weapons and weapons from previous games. So by Act 2 it's better, but in the first act it's just tedious. It's really, really tedious. I would like to say though that the prologue's actually pretty good for letting you know the background story. I really do like that. I think that that's something that I would have enjoyed if we'd had it on hardcore. As it was just like, get me through the prologue so I can actually fight properly. I think what I'm actually saying is that I really like Gears of War 2, and nothing has ever approached beating that because of how I've just so much enjoyed playing Gears 2. And I do like Gears 1, but Gears 2 is my favourite. So I do genuinely think that something has gone wrong in some of the Gears games, but I have heard Gears 5 revolutionises the whole thing. So I'm quite understandably excited to see that. I think that's everything I've got to say on it just now. I'll let you know how we go as we go. So, stories. One small story and then one little heads up for you. First story is on Bethesda. Bethesda has made two new IP, developing two new IP, Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, which we've all seen if we've been watching the Expo videos on the interweb. But it's decided to make them timed exclusives for the PlayStation 5. And the exact phrase I've used is that they are greedy, stupid, fraidy cats. And basically I've said that because that's why they've done this. They're afraid that the new IP won't make money, that the games won't make money. So if they make them timed exclusives, they're basically being paid by Sony to make their games timed exclusives, so they get a big chunk of that development money back straight away. Obviously, Sony do this to try and increase sales of their console. The issue here is that these are new IP, and if you make them a timed exclusive like this, you can put off a huge amount of your potential player base and kill it. Because suddenly, anybody, basically, if you want to sell well when your game releases, people who play PlayStation have to be interested in the game, or computer in this case. It's Xbox that misses out, and obviously Switch, because it couldn't play something like this, obviously, because it's the next generation. Nintendo aren't coming out with one. So in a minute, so if you're an Xbox player, you're just no, I'm not interested anymore, and it's a big hit. To Bethesda, they've secured a lot of their development input, financially, but it might kill the exclusives because of the fact that they won't sell as many. And that's a big part in making a sequel, is how well did it sell, not whether or not you made your money back. Because if nobody bought it, Sony are not going to come to you. Also, timed exclusives are probably not going to be as common. They're not going to be as common after your console has been released. It's kind of a big release date thing. That's why it's timed. So I can see why Bethesda have done this, but they've done it. It's the wrong choice, really, I think. And one of the other things about it is that it was a last minute deal, apparently. So they've been sort of like advertising these games, and then now they've said that they're timed exclusives for PlayStation 5. So while Sony will be really happy that they've snapped all that up, Bethesda might have made a mistake here by making them, I would definitely say so, by making them timed exclusives at all. And the fact that they've advertised them to everybody and then said, oh, by the way, if you're on Xbox, you can't play it, I just don't think that's not going to go down well. So I can see why Bethesda have done it. Because I think games like Dishonored, I think they might have been an exclusive at one point that didn't sell as well as they'd hoped. I'm not sure. But I think Bethesda, they've got more than enough money to genuinely deal with some lower sales than they would like, to just get the game out there. But they've not got the goodwill that they had because of Fallout 76. And it's not really getting much better yet. And they can take the financial hit, they can't take the goodwill hit. So I don't know why they've done this. It is panic, greed, get as much money as possible. There was better choices for them to make. Especially doing it last minute and then not telling anyone till now, because that's just getting people all hyped up for a game they're not going to be able to play for 6 months is just not a good idea. Well, it's Bethesda, what do you expect? The next little thing I wanted to talk to you about was it's not a new RPG, it's not out yet. Still in development, this RPG. But it was announced in 2017 and then we've heard nothing about it, and it's a game called Biomutant. It's a RPG, which I think apparently it's a sort of like ninja kung fu RPG, involving mutated animals in a sort of nice way, and it gives you an awful lot of flexibility, but you still have to make decisions to allow you to use certain weapons and stuff like that. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. This is more of a, I think you guys should go and have a look on YouTube. there's a 9-minute gameplay video. Game's called Biomutant, and I'd have a look for yourselves because I think it's really worth it. But that's everything for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, pardon me. I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you did, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be warned whenever we release a video. And please leave a comment down below, or you can contact us at overshadow.shadowcast@gmail.com. All comments are welcome, and any questions, we'll try and answer them. So thanks very much. And either I will or Abigail will see you next week. Bye.